Baby, baby.
Hello, listeners. It's your boy, NotoriousSA, aka Steve Anderson, aka Mr. Season Ender. Just had lunch, taking a little bit of a break here. Wanted to record something. So I don't think I'm going to have time to produce a full-on episode of the podcast to end the year. I did recently post the results from the Spotify Wrapped that we had, so I think it was an excellent season. I had some excellent guests on this year who helped really promote and I think expand on what I'm trying to do here. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on in the news at the moment. We've had, it's been a wild year. It's crazy to forget there was a giant train crash in Ohio that everybody talked about and then everyone forgot about, because we've had the war and Israel and, of course, everything related with Donald Trump, which still continues to dominate the headlines in 2023. So I do want to point out a couple of things just before I finish up my lunch here and, go finish some shopping. Also, shout out to Steak and Shake Garlic Steak Burger, $4 meal, excellent value, always worth it. Not sponsored, just as a fun fact. So today it is December 22nd, and we have recently had a spew of things happen, including Donald Trump being temporarily removed from the ballot from Colorado due to him being found to have participated in the January 6th insurrection, which is a big deal. I wish I had more time to expand on it, but there will be other things to talk about in the future. So I just want to say, if you haven't read it, you should read it. I'm going to throw the link in the description for anyone who's interested. It's a very long opinion. It's 200 pages, and there's dissents. But I do think the amount of history covered in it and the reminder of people why we have these laws in the first place in history should be a reminder that there's always been people in America who may claim to be supportive of America or be America first or for real America. What they want is to actually just control things, and they pay lip service to things like the Constitution. But then these are just things to be discarded as long as they get what they want out of it, which is usually just money, fame, and power, and all the other things that Donald Trump promoted. But either way, what I want to really talk about, though, and I'll keep it brief, is that doing a creative project like a podcast is not easy. I started this when I was unemployed, and I had way more free time on my hands and a lot to talk about, and I've made some really interesting episodes over the last couple of years. This year in particular, I'm pretty proud of my episodes with Amanda Moore and Kim Cabell, two very interesting people who I would, follow Amanda Moore's work, and then Kim Cabell is not on social media, but as a school board member, I appreciate all of her hard work she does. I no longer live in the area that she represents, so I moved. That was also a big thing. I moved this year, so I've been very busy. But I want to take the time to appreciate anyone who does listen, and I understand that there's 10 million, 1,000, billion podcasts out there that everyone has, and mine is not anything special in particular. I just sort of made up the intro based on the beats I thought sounded good, threw in the Notorious line there as part of it for fun. But this has been a fun creative project, and this is not a goodbye. I'm going to be busy for a little bit, so be prepared. I do have some stuff coming up in 2024 that I hope will be, very promising and interesting, and I've got some things I'm working on that I can't specifically talk about right now, but I hope that in the future I'll be able to mention it in great detail, and, we'll go forward from there. But mostly to the listeners, thank you. I mean, I don't know, I really never met any of you, I don't know who you are, and no one's ever reached out over social media, so if you do listen, feel free to reach out through any of the aforementioned social media channels that are on here, or through the website, NotoriousSA.com. just renewed that, so, got a whole nother year of that I still have. So, also can be reached by email, NotoriousSApodcast@gmail.com. There's a Twitter, there's a Facebook, there's all that stuff. I check it every so often, but, I don't get a lot of activity on it. But you know what? It's fine. The fact that there's just people listening in general, and apparently from different countries, is just amazing to me. That some random guy from a random place can just put his thoughts out online in a way that, his creative aesthetic wants, and people will listen. I'm obviously way below the other podcasts of the world, but, the fact that people do listen, and then I do have people who find my work compelling. And I have had several people reach out to me in real life who apparently have heard the podcast, so that's really appreciative, but it's not a lot. But again, life is busy. We all have things going on, and, for those of us who have full-time jobs that aren't being podcasters, or people who should have full-time jobs still have podcasts anyway, it's very hard to do a creative project. And I've mentioned this before, lots of times you start something, you try to get through it, it doesn't work out, things change, the environment changes by the time you've recorded it. Literally by the time you've sat down and recorded something, sometimes when you're done, you pull up your phone and you're like, oh, that thing I was just spent 20 minutes talking about is now irrelevant. So, such is the day and age we live in. But what I did want to say to all of you is that in the future, there will hopefully be a bit more, I like doing the interviews. I kind of think that might be a bigger part going forward as opposed to just me talking about whatever I feel like talking about. Hoping to get some candidates for office on in the next year, particularly Republicans who do not agree with the former president, particularly those who want to do a different change. And I also wanted to, this is going to be very specific to Illinois people, but there is an episode of a podcast called Black and Right that I've been listening to, which involves a couple people who are currently involved in Illinois Republican politics. One is the former chairman, and one is this other guy from a township. Link in the description. It's a really interesting read. I think this episode is very descriptive of what is happening in the current Republican Party. If you listen to that specific exchange with someone who used to be the chair of the party, right, from way back in the day, 10 years ago, I know, and it's amazing that people who are Tea Party, pro-life, pro-gun conservatives who are anti-Trump are now fake Republicans. Life comes at you fast. But again, link in the description. I think it's a really good example of kind of what happens when you speak out against President Trump as a Republican. You're met with a barrage of insults and people coming after your character. And of course, people just spreading lies and misinformation because that's the era that Trump has brought upon us. But, either way, we're out here, we're doing what we're doing, and we're out here living life to the best of our ability. Things are going well. And I hope that when I do start the next season, which I do them every year is a season, so the episodes and the titles don't always match. But whatever, it's my podcast. I can do it however I want. I'm hoping that starting in January of next year, I can get some information up that will allow me to really expand upon, where we're going as a country in 2024 and why I think it's important to continue to stand up for truth, regardless of the factual circumstances around us. It's a weird statement, but the truth being that there are truths out there, and the facts being that there are people who actively ignore the truth on purpose and spread lies either to make money or for clout or because that's what the audience wants to hear. And you know what? I'm not in the business of giving the audience what they want to hear, which is probably why my podcast is not my business, right? I'm here to tell you what I think. There's lots of people out there who will tell you what you want to hear and want to give you that information because they can use it to draw you in and make you feel comfortable and tell you that, no, you've been right the whole time about everything. And I'm not going to be that guy. You're probably right about stuff, you're probably wrong about stuff. I'm right about stuff, and I'm wrong about stuff. Not often, but when I am wrong, I'm willing to admit it and try to, better myself and correct the record on that knowledge. So, it's a learning journey for all of us. And if you choose to listen to things that you don't actively agree with to gain a different perspective, even if you really never agree with them. If you're listening to this out of spite, or if you're listening out of enjoyment, either way, thanks for listening. I'll never give you my fake truth. I'll never give you something I think because you want to hear it. I'm giving you something because this is what I wanted to say, and this is what I wanted to do. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all so much. I really do hope to have more stuff coming in the next year when I get schedules worked out and I have a place to record and all that other stuff. So, thank you to all the NotoriousSA podcast fans out there. You know, stay golden, stay open to the truth, stay notorious. Happy holidays. See you next year. Take care, all.